The deep snoring of Dwayne Johnson's motorcycle broke the silence of the empty park. He turned off the engine, but even before he got off, something stopped him. An elderly man, moving slowly with a tired expression, struggled to push a huge cardboard cart that seemed greater than him. Have you ever come across a scene that changed your perspective on life? What if a simple act of kindness could transform not only someone else's fate, but its own? What would happen next would forever alter the course of life of that man, and Dwayne's as well. The soft light of the morning infiltrated the closed windows of Elijah's small house. He got up slowly, feeling the weight of another day on his shoulders. His body protested each movement, but he ignored the pain as he did daily. He needed to be strong for his wife, Marjorie, who still slept quietly in the next room. The kitchen, though modest, exuded a welcoming atmosphere. The walls were adorned with old photos, a portrait of the smiling wedding, a beach trip in the 70s, and a family Christmas meeting. Elijah stopped for a moment before the images. What happened to those times, he thought, squeezing the covenant on his finger. After preparing a simple cup of coffee, Elias went to Marjorie's room. She was sitting in the armchair, looking at the emptiness. Alzheimer had taken her a lot, but Elijah could still see traces of the woman she loved in her gaze. He sat beside her, holding his hand delicately. "Good morning, my dear." Marjorie didn't answer, but a vague smile came on her face. For Elijah, that was enough. Patient, he helped her get up, guiding her to the bathroom and then to the kitchen table. As she settled, he began to separate the medicines. Each tablet was a reminder of the battles they faced daily. "Today will be a good day, my dear," he said, as if he tried to convince himself of it. At the table, reality awaited him. A pile of accounts accumulated, mostly marked with delay notifications. Elijah sighed deep, took one of the papers, and traveled the numbers with a tired look. "Maybe I get a few more hours on the market today," he murmured, trying to find a little optimism. Before leaving, Elias returned to the room to say goodbye to Marjorie. She held the wedding photo as she did almost every day. Elijah ran a hand softly through her grey hair and said tenderly, "I'll be back soon, my love. Take care." Marjorie did not answer, but in his eyes he could see a small flash of recognition. By closing the door, Elijah threw one last look to the sky, now illuminated by the sun. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of a day that had not even really started. "Give me a moment for one more day," he murmured to himself. He had no idea that that day would bring something that would change his life forever. Market parking was already busy when Elijah arrived. His old sedan creaked slightly when he turned off the engine. As he got out of the car, he felt his knees complain but ignored the pain. He picked up his shabby vest from the back seat and dressed it with the same dignity as always. The uniform was no longer new, but he still felt a man, of value when wearing it. The work consisted of organizing the shopping carts scattered throughout the parking lot. The morning heat was bearable, but Elias knew that within hours the sun would turn the asphalt into a true oven. He started his routine, pulling his carts carefully, always attentive to no escape. Each movement was a memory of the pain that it carried daily, but stopping was not an option. As he concentrated on the task, a boy rushed, pulling a stroller tightly. It almost hit Elias, which stepped back at the last moment. "Oops, sorry, sir," said the young man quickly, without even looking back. Elijah sighed, a smile tired on his lips. Hearing the word "Lord" reminded him of how long he had passed. "Sir," he repeated to himself in a low tone. He returned to work, but soon an impatient voice caught his attention. "Elias, why are these strollers still scattered?" He was the manager, a man in his 30s, always hasty and annoyed. Elijah turned slowly, ignoring the pain in his shoulder, and answered calmly, "I'm finishing. I just need a few more minutes." "A few more minutes? This is no excuse," said the manager with sarcasm. "If you were faster, we wouldn't need two." people to do your job. Elijah squeezed his lips, holding any answer that could make the situation worse. It was not worth discussing. He just returned to the carts, pushing them harder. The metallic noise of the wheels echoed by the parking lot. After a few minutes, while aligning the last row, one of the carts released unexpectedly and almost hit a parked car. Elias reacted, in the last second, holding the cart before it caused any damage, but the effort sent acute pain over his leg. He leaned against a moment, taking a deep breath. "Just another day," he murmured. Closing his eyes for a moment, he looked at the sky and made a silent request. It did not ask for miracles, no grandiose changes, only strength to continue. "Help me, God. Just follow me today." Little did he know that at a distance, someone watched him. Across the parking lot, a dark jacket man and sunglasses stopped his motorcycle and removed his helmet. Dwayne Johnson crossed her arms and watched Elijah. He had seen the whole scene, the effort, patience before the manager, the fight against his own body. All. Dwayne was not there by chance. There was something in that man that stopped him. Something that reminded him of something he himself has ever lived. The motor of his motorcycle was still snoring softly, but he turned it off. He stayed there for a while, watching. Meanwhile, Elijah continued his routine, oblivious to the fact that that stranger, stopped a few meters, was about to change his life in a way he could never imagine. The motorcycle man, wearing a black jacket and sunglasses, stopped in a silent corridor, far from the main agitation. Dwayne Johnson calmly dismounted, removed his coat and watched the parking lot. His eyes analyzed every detail, attentive. He was not there for shopping. Something took him to that scene. It was then that he noticed Elijah leaning against a row of carts, trying to organize them. The tiredness was evident in each movement. Dwayne realized how he paused every few seconds, squeezing his knee, fighting, a pain he tried to hide. He also saw the manager talking carelessly to another employee, without giving a damn about Elias's exhaustion. There was something wrong there. Without making noise, Dwayne walked to him. When he was close enough, he spoke in a firm but quiet voice. "Do you need a hand with that?" Elijah turned, surprised. The man before him looked familiar, but his face did not fit any immediate memory. No, don't worry, sir. I have everything under control," he said, forcing a tired smile. Dwayne stepped forward, his eyes diverting to the carts. "I insist." Before Elijah could protest, Dwayne was already helping to push the carts to the place. "Look, I appreciate the help, but that's my job," Elijah said, trying to resume control of the situation. Dwayne stopped for a moment and stared at him. Sometimes even the strongest need a hand. "Don't worry, I'm just returning a favor." The answer took Elijah by surprise. There was something in the tone of that man who disarmed him. He sighed, and after a moment of hesitation, he nodded. "Well, if you really want to help, start with those there." He pointed to another messy row of carts. Dwayne smiled as if he accepted a challenge and started working. As they organized together, he pulled conversation. "How long does this do?" "A few years," said Elijah. "Since my wife got sick, I needed this work to keep her accounts up to date. It's not easy, but it's what I have." Dwayne listened carefully. He did not interrupt, just kept his gaze focused, absorbing each word. Elijah, perhaps feeling comfortable with his presence, kept talking. He told about Marjorie, about the good times they lived together, and how Alzheimer's changed everything. Dwayne asked occasional, never invasive, just enough questions to show genuine interest. After aligning a good amount of carts, Dwayne made a suggestion. "How about we get something to drink?" Elijah hesitated, but his hunger and tiredness spoke louder. They walked together to a small coffee inside the market, where Dwayne bought 2 coffees. They sat outside, observing the movement in the parking lot. "Have you ever thought about stopping?" asked Dwayne, as if talking about something obvious. Elias released a dry laugh. To stop? With what money? I sold almost everything I had to pay Marjorie's treatment, which is badly left to cover the expenses of the month. Dwayne was silent for a moment, looking at the coffee in her hands. You did a lot for her. This is admirable. Elijah shook his head. That's what any husband would do. When you love someone, no matter what happens, you keep fighting. The words were in Dwayne's mind. It was not a request for help, nor an attempt to move anyone. It was just a man speaking his truth. He finished coffee and faced Elijah, clearly impacted. There was something about him that Dwayne couldn't ignore. It was as if fate had crossed its ways for a reason. You are a strong man, Elijah. Stronger than many people I know. Elijah smiled. I don't know if this is strength or just stubbornness. Dwayne laughed softly, but her gaze remained serious. Something in it was already decided, even if it didn't reveal yet. What he heard that day made him rethink many things. Sacrifice, resilience, unconditional love. As I watched Elijah returned to work, I knew I needed to do something. Something big. I just wasn't sure how Elijah would react when he found out. After finishing the coffee, Dwayne suggested that they return to the parking lot to continue organizing the carts. There was something in the way he said he indicated that the conversation was not over. Elijah noticed that, but chose not to interrupt. As they pushed another row of carts, Dwayne asked casually, You mentioned your wife. How is she now? Elijah took a deep breath before answering. Marjorie, she's strong, you know, stronger than me, Elijah said, supporting his elbows on his knees, but Alzheimer's doesn't give much room to breathe. A few days are good, some not so much. Dwayne was silent for a moment before asking, And the treatment? You said you sold many things. How have you been able to keep everything? Elijah did not respond immediately. He looked at the horizon as if looking for strength to continue. I sold the house we built together. It was our home, full of memories. But I needed to pay the first therapy sessions and the medicines. Then it was the furniture, the car, almost. Everything. I only got the essentials for her. Dwayne heard without interrupting, absorbing each word. Elijah continued, feeling that there was finally someone willing to listen. The work here in the market does not pay much, but you can take it. The problem is the medicines. They're expensive, and I can't stop buying them. Dwayne leaned lightly forward. And you? Elias frowned. What? How are you taking care of yourself? He let out a tired laugh. There is no time or money for that. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that she has everything she needs. Dwayne spent a while looking at the cart in front of him as he processed what he had just heard. Have you ever thought about asking for help? Family? Friends? Elijah shook his head. Most people have their own battles to fight. I can't expect them to carry mine too. And to be honest, I think pride gets in the way. I've always been the kind of man who believes to solve his own problems. Dwayne smiled, but there was a certain weight in her gaze. A lot of people think so. But accepting help sometimes is the greatest act of courage. A brief silence formed between them until Dwayne reached out and slapped Elijah's shoulder. The gesture was fast, but meaningful. You are an admirable man. The world needs more people like you. Elijah didn't know what to say. There was something in Dwayne's sincerity that disarmed him. I already made my choice, he said, trying to end the subject. Marjorie is my priority. Always will be. Dwayne respected his determination, but something in his gaze indicated that he already had a plan in mind. Throughout the day, Dwayne remained in the parking lot, helping Elijah with the carts and watching her behavior. He saw how he ignored physical pain, how he dealt with the manager's impatience without losing his composure, and how, despite everything, he carried unshakable dignity. When Elijah's shift came to an end, Dwayne reached for a firm tightness. "I hope we will meet again, Elijah." Elijah smiled, straightening the handle on his shoulder. "If you keep coming here, I think it's inevitable." Dwayne smiled. "You can count on that." As Elijah walked away, carrying the weight of another day, Dwayne remained there for a few minutes. He knew he couldn't change the past, but something told him that he could still do something for that man's future. He climbed the motorcycle and adjusted his coat, throwing one last look at Elias, who disappeared on the horizon. "He deserves more than that," he murmured to himself, and at that moment he made a decision. That night Dwayne barely slept. Elijah's story echoed in his mind. As he looked at the ceiling, he realized that sometimes small actions can have a huge impact. He knew he could not change everything in Elijah's life, but he could at least relieve part of his burden. With that in mind, he began to act. The next morning, he returned to the market. This time, with a concrete plan. He went to the manager's office and asked for a private conversation. "How can I help you?" asked the manager, analyzing him curiously. "Recognize that man." The day before, he had seen him helping Elijah in the parking lot. Dwayne, calm and straightforward, replied, "I'm here to talk about Elijah." The manager raised an eyebrow. "Elias? What does he have?" "Works hard every day, even carrying a weight that most of us don't even imagine. I want to make sure he receives the support he deserves." The manager crossed his arms, confused. "Do you want to help you? Why?" Without saying anything else, Dwayne removed a check and placed him on the table. "I want to pay Elias's salary for the coming months. Also, I want him to have a few days of rest. I need your cooperation to make sure it happens without having uncomfortable." The manager looked at the check on the table, surprised. "This is very generous, but he will probably not accept." "Elijah is a proud man." Dwayne smiled. "I know, so it needs to be done anonymously. He can't know that money comes from me. Tell him that it is a special market bonus or something. Can I count on you?" The manager hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "I think we can make it work." Before leaving the market, Dwayne went to the service counter and asked for a list of nearby pharmacies. "I wanted to ensure that Marjorie's treatment costs were also covered." He made a quick connection to the pharmacy where Elijah used to buy the medicines and confirmed all the details. In a few minutes, it organized the payment for the coming months. On the way back to the parking lot, he stopped at a nearby coffee and bought 2 drinks. He found Elijah organizing the last row of carts before his break. "Coffee?" Dwayne offered, extending one of the cups. Elias caught with a tired smile. "You're a good man, you know," Dwayne laughed. "I just like coffee." They sat on the same table where they had talked the day before. Dwayne watched Elijah for a moment. Before speaking, "You are an inspiring man." Elijah shook his head. "I just do what needs to be done. And that's exactly what makes you special." Most would have given up. Elijah took a deep breath. Loving someone means being there, whatever happens. Dwayne was silent for a moment before asking, "I know you don't accept help easily, but if someone came up and wanted to do something for you, what would you say?" Elias frowned, thoughtful. "I would say to help someone who really needs it." Dwayne smiled. "You are that person, Elijah." Elijah's gaze fixed on his for a brief moment. He opened his mouth to say something, but preferred to change the subject. At the end of the work, the manager called Elias to the office. He came in hesitant, not understanding why. What it was? The manager extended an envelope. "A special bonus. You deserve..." Elias looked at the suspicious envelope. "What is that?" "A recognition for your work," said the manager, avoiding eye contact. With trembling hands, Elijah opened the envelope and saw the money enough to cover the expenses of the coming months. His eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say." The manager just waved his head. "Enjoy." That night, Elijah kept the envelope like a treasure. Upon entering the house, he found Marjorie sitting, holding the wedding photo as she did every day. He approached her, held his hand, and whispered, "My love, we have a chance. It will be all right now." She looked at him, and for a moment a genuine smile appeared on his face. Elijah felt that he had received the greatest gift of all. Across the street, Dwayne watched the little house from afar. He stayed there for a moment, then turned on the motorcycle and disappeared on the road. The next morning, Elijah woke up early, as always, but something seemed different. There was a lightness that he had not felt for a long time. He sat at the table and opened the envelope. Again, as if he had to confirm that everything was real. Next to the money, there was a simple, handwritten grade. "Take care of her. You're not alone." He read those words over and over. I didn't know who had done that for him, but something inside him changed. He prepared the coffee and went to Marjorie, who was in his favorite armchair. He held his hand and smiled. "We have good news. Someone, an angel perhaps, helped us. At least for now, the financial problems are over. You will continue to receive the best care." I expected the usual silence, or at most, a vague smile. But to his surprise, Marjorie looked up and stared at him. There was something different in his gaze, a clarity that he had not seen for a long time. "Elias?" Her voice came out low, but loaded with emotion. Elijah backed up, feeling his heart accelerate. "Marjorie, you?" She smiled, that same smile that he remembered the early years together. "Looks like I'm waking up from a long and confused dream." Her eyes found his. "You're here. It's you, Elijah." The tears came before he could contain it. Elijah held her face with her hands, as if she had to feel to believe that this moment was real. "Yes, it's me. I'm here. I've always been." Marjorie looked around the house as if he was rediscovering her. "It has changed a little, but it's still our home, isn't it?" Elijah nodded, the emotion overflowing. "Yes, my love. It's still ours." She touched the wedding photo she held on her lap. "I remember that day. It was beautiful." Elijah smiled. "The happiest of my life." The shine in her eyes was the same as before. "We may have another day happy like that, Elijah. Dance with me." He was speechless for a moment, but quickly reached for her. Marjorie, though he moved slowly, held his hand and stood up. Elijah took her to the center of the room and began humming the song she had played at the wedding. She smiled. The steps were slow, but each movement carried more meaning than any dance they had ever made. At that moment, time stopped. There were no diseases, concerns, or difficulties. Only the two, as before. "I missed you," Marjorie whispered. Elijah held her carefully, afraid that that instant escapes. "I never stopped being here, my love." The day followed with a magic that Elijah could not explain. Marjorie remained lucid, talking about old memories, laughing, and even helping in the kitchen, as she used to do. They shared stories, remembered happy moments, and for the first time in a long time, Elijah felt that he had received a greater gift than anything he could imagine. At night, while Marjorie rested in her chair, he looked at Elias and said, "Thank you for never giving up on me. I love you." He held her hand and whispered, "I love you, Marjorie, always." Far from there, Dwayne Johnson accelerated her motorcycle on the road. His thoughts were still with Elias and Marjorie. He knew that his actions had made a difference, but he understood that the true impact came from the love and strength that Elijah demonstrated every day. He stopped by the road, took off his helmet, and looked at the horizon. He smiled lightly. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest changes. He did not expect Elijah to discover what he had done. True goodness does not need recognition. In the following days, Marjorie began to lose her clarity again, like a flame that gradually went out. But that day was marked in Elijah as a miracle that would never forget. Whenever the pain was trying to be present, he remembered the dance, her smile, the brightness in her eyes that for a few hours brought back the woman she always loved. Time followed its course, but Elijah was no longer the same. There was a renewed hope, a force that once seemed lost. At the end of another day, he sat on the porch, holding Marjorie's hand. He looked at the sky and murmured softly, "Thanks, whoever it is. You saved more than our lives. You gave us hope." On the road, Dwayne followed without looking back. He knew he had done the right thing, because sometimes the most silent gestures make the marks deeper. If this story has touched your heart, imagine how many others can inspire you. Subscribe to the channel for more exciting reports of love, hope, and overcoming.